my presentation and we'll make a start. MashaAllah, I've seen recently, we've got a lot of brothers attending prayer. The mosque is full, MashaAllah, so, and I've noticed that for a few times now. Okay, so last week we studied up to the marriage of Prophet ﷺ with Hazrat Khadija radiallahu anha. And then we were just going through the blessings and what we have learnt so far, and there was a few things which I want to finish up. Before we move on to the next topic. So, I mean, one thing which shows us that, Prophet ﷺ was not a lustful man, because this is one of the things which non-Muslims bring up. The multiple marriages, they will keep bringing up. This is one of the things which they keep pointing out and try to smear the character of Prophet ﷺ. But means, if we look at his life, he was married to one woman who was not even like younger than him. And he committed to her for the rest of her life. So he did not get married till Khadija passed away. And then after that, yes, he married a number of other women. But there are a lot of reasons behind it. He didn't just marry them for the sake of marriage. Like, he married Soda because she was quite old, Raziallahu anha, our mothers, who she didn't have anyone else to look after her, so he married her, and then he married Zainab. That was a lot of like a political element to it, and then one of the marriages was a command directly from Allah, because Allah did the nikah in the Quran, so there was no nikah and nothing. So that's the Zainab, the other wife Zainab. So that, like, there's lots of reasons for marrying, not just because he wanted to marry another woman. There was like political reasons behind it. So, I mean, and then Allah gave Prophet ﷺ both sons and daughters, just to give him the taste of the fatherhood. Yes, the daughters lived a long life, but the sons, they all passed away. Abdullah and Al-Qasim, they were the earlier two sons with Khadija. When Abdullah passed away, he was already a prophet when Abdullah was born. And when he passed away, Abu Lahab, who is the uncle, but he is the strongest enemy of Prophet ﷺ by that time, Prophet ﷺ was very upset and very sad, obviously, as any father would be, because with the death of the son, a young child. And Abu Lahab, it's been narrated that he was running around in the streets of Makkah saying, Qad batara Muhammad, Qad batara Muhammad, that Allah has cut off the progeny of Muhammad. That's what the batara basically means. And I mean, how traumatic that would be for Prophet. One, you have just lost your son and a young child, and on top of that, your worst enemy is running around rejoicing that and saying that in Makkah, "Qad Batra Muhammad." So in the return for that, Surah Kawthar was revealed. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shanaka huwal abtar. That it's not you who has actually whose progeny has been cut off. It's actually your enemies whose progeny has been cut off. And how true that is. I mean, how many kids are named Muhammad these days? It's one of the top 10 of England. The name Muhammad, the baby's name, and I think it topped the charts at some point as well. But it's in the top 10 for years and years. The name Muhammad. How many Abu Lahab you know? None. The only people who take the name are the Muslims, and they are to actually with the displeasure. So we take the name with to say that he was not a nice man. So that's the only people who actually know his name. So there is no other Abu Lahab. How many Muhammads are there in the world? Plenty. So I mean, how true that is in the Quran. That means these people.
Wasn't it Abu Jahl?
Abu Jahl is a different man.
No, wasn't it him who said that?
No, it was Abu Lahab.
Okay.
Abu Lahab said that. I mean, there are in mention in Ibn Kathir. There are a lot of other people who have been mentioned that this surah was revealed for them. If you read the tafsir in Ibn Kathir, the tafsir Ibn Kathir, they have mentioned of other people as well that this surah is meant for those. Malik was one of them, and there is other names as well which I can't remember. I was reading this morning when I was preparing, and there are a lot of other names which has been mentioned as well in different narrations. But Abu Lahab is the main one.
I think Abu Lahab narrated that he never had any grandchildren. His children died and he never had
Any
so he was himself the abtar, never had children.
Yeah.
But if you look into how many the Ahlul Bayt now, in Malaysia only there's around 10 million
Yeah.
Ahlul Bayt, and millions of
Millions.
them across the
Yeah.
Muslim world. Yeah.
So I mean the Tabbat Yada was for Abu Lahab as well, yeah, against him. So there is a theological wisdom behind that as well. There's a hadith, I think it's in Ibn Majah. Yes, it is in Ibn Majah. When the last child which Prophet ﷺ had, so we discussed that there was how many children he had with Khadija?
6.
Not with Khadija. Khadija 6, yeah, one with Sayyidina Maria, but 6 with Khadija. So 6 with Khadija radhiyallahu ta'ala anha, and then the last one is, anyone remember the name? The last one, Ibrahim. So Ibrahim was Sayyidina Maria, and he died when he was 16 to 18 months old. And Prophet ﷺ was crying and he was really sad. And then he was very grieved, and there is a report in Ibn Majah which is not many people know actually. The Prophet ﷺ said, had Ibrahim lived, his son, he would have been a prophet. That is, it is not possible that the son of Rasulullah not to be a prophet. And because he was the last prophet, so his sons had to die.
Yeah.
So his sons could not live. And that's the hadith which is narrated in Ibn Majah, one of the 6 books. And I mean, subhanAllah, we can see that the Ummah has made the progeny from the daughters to a level where we are taking them to all these panjas and everything, and it has been, I don't know if I'm to use this word, but it has been a fitna for the Ummah to elevate them to a level where that's not the right thing. If just consider if he had a son, what would we have done with them? So he would have been made into gods or something, I don't know. So the next story which we know of before the actual prophethood started is the rebuilding of the Kaaba. So when he was 35-year-old, the incident happened that there was a lady who was cooking the food, and you have to remember that at that time the masjid was not the masjid like today. So people had houses which were very close to the Kaaba, like, and they were cooking outside. And one of the ladies was cooking outside. One of the amber came and lit fire on the cloth, and then the whole Kaaba was damaged because of that fire. And then the same year, the flood came, and it damaged whatever was left. The Kaaba was damaged even more. So Kaaba was really badly damaged. I'm sure it's people who have gone for Hajj and Umrah years ago. The first time I went for Umrah when I was quite little, actually in 80s. I remember we used to have to go out from the masjid to for Sa'i. For Safa and Marwa was not the part of the haram itself. And I remember that we had to go out from the masjid and then go and do the Sa'i. And I'm sure you probably have gone before that, that the houses were quite close, the masjid to the masjid.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I lived in 1978.
In 70s even more
But they
close.
were, the area for Tawaf is only up to the station of Ibrahim.
Yeah.
The rest was sand.
So, yeah.
And people will be sitting and praying, whatever. So obviously that tells you the number of the judge.
Yeah.
Now the whole mosque,
Is
all the floors are doing Tawaf.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and the floods, there was quite common to actually flood in Makkah. Even today, even this Hajj, the last Hajj, you probably have already seen the videos which are on the social media. There was really bad flood in Makkah. Did you go for Hajj this year?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So, how bad was it?
We had rain three times. The first time when we were going around the Kaaba, the first when we arrived there, and that was blessing. It was just so beautiful, and it was quite a bit of rain actually. They had to very quickly put the ropes up and sweep the water. Second time we just came out of our tent in Arafat Day, and I heard people shouting, "Brothers, get inside, get inside! It's a storm coming!" And it was a big storm. It started leaking. Electricity was a bit shaky as well. And but the third time, when we were leaving Mecca to go to Jamarat, there were about 20 of us in a coach. We were asked to get off the coach, and it was raining quite heavily, and go across this road. And my wife and three others, we just couldn't go across the road because it was huge. Water was almost up to our knees,
Yeah.
and it had bottles and rubbish going around. It was crazy, and so we were lost, and we had to.
So I mean, the streets are still flooding, but the actual haram area doesn't flood because they have actually built a lot of drainage system in the haram. So there is no floods in the haram now, but the streets still get flooded. So because you have to remember, haram is in like a valley. It's in the basin. There are lots of mountains all around it, and Mecca and the Kaaba is actually just in the bottom of that basin. So all the water comes through. But now they have, alhamdulillah, they have built a lot of drainage systems so it doesn't get flooded.
I mean, 3 times in 16 days, it's a lot really, and also, obviously, it's to do with climate change as well, and how.
That's in August.
In August, yeah.
August, you don't see
Yeah,
a
August,
single
yeah.
cloud in there.
So this is the flood came and it destroyed whatever was left of not the whole of the Kaaba, but it was destroyed quite badly. So the Quraysh, they decided we need to rebuild the Kaaba, but they were afraid of actually going and demolishing the Kaaba. It's the house of Allah, so nobody was really wanted to go and demolish the Kaaba. So you have to demolish to rebuild it, and they were afraid of demolishing the Kaaba. And it's narrated in Ibn Ishaq that there was a big snake which came out of Zamzam well, and it was standing in front of the Kaaba, and every time they tried to approach to actually demolish the Kaaba, it will hiss at them. And then Allah sent a big bird which picked up the snake and threw it behind the mountain. So they took it as that it's a sign that we can approach and demolish the Kaaba. But they were still scared, and in the end, Walid ibn, I think it was Walid, yeah, Walid ibn al-Mughira, he said, forget about it. He's the noble man. He's one of the chieftain of Banu Makhzum. He said that I'm going to do it. So he took the axe and he went there. And then it's narrated that when he approached the Kaaba, he said, "Oh Allah, don't be alarmed. I'm just here to help you. I'm not here to harm anything. I'm just here to help." And then the rest of the Quraysh, they said, why don't we use Walid as a litmus test? So we won't help him. Let him do it. If he survives the night, then it's all okay. Then we will help him the next day. If something happens to him, that means Allah doesn't want us to demolish the Kaaba, so we will leave. So on the first day, Walid just demolished some of the walls on his own. Nobody helped him. The next morning, when he woke up, all fine. So they said, okay, yeah, that's fine. We can go and do it. So they demolished the Kaaba. And at the same time, there was a church which was being built in Syria. And the Roman Empire, he sent a lot of nice wood and marbles and lots of good material. And Allah's qadar is that their ship got into a big storm and they couldn't get to, so they had to actually, and it got destroyed, so they couldn't actually carry on the journey. And they had to land, and they had to land Jeddah because they were very close to Jeddah, which is Jeddah nowadays. So it used to be called Jeddah. So they landed on Jeddah. That was what's called like one of the ports. One of the seaports was Jeddah. So they landed on Jeddah, and they said, okay, because we can't really go back to Rome now, so we need to have money. So why don't we sell this merchandise which we brought, and then so we will collect some money and then we will go back. So they were selling, and at the same time, the Quraysh was looking for. They found out that there is a merchandise, really nice wood and marble, which is on sale. So they went to buy that, and they bought all the good stuff, and they had a Najjar with them. They had a craftsman with them. So they actually hired the craftsman as well, and it's all Allah's plan that how all this happened at the same time. And they all with the best craftsman, who's the craftsman of the kings. So they all came and they started rebuilding the Kaaba. So they were using the expensive material for the foundation, and it seems like either the wood or the marble, they didn't had enough. So what they did, rather than the actual Kaaba is a rectangular structure. So they didn't had enough to build the whole rectangular structure. So what they did, they said, okay, we'll build the square, and then they put the two posts, wooden posts, for the other end, which they couldn't get to. And it seems like that their intention was not to make it permanent that way, but to build it what we can do now, and then if later on, when we'll have more money, we will build it the proper way. But Allah's qadar is that it's the same shape, and that Hatim, which is the semicircular space, is actually part of the Kaaba itself. So that's the area which the old Kaaba was up to. So it's not there anymore.
Did the Kaaba still have idols inside?
No. At the time of Fateh Makkah, Prophet ﷺ destroyed all the idols. So no more idols.
The Saudi idols now.
So, yeah.
Clock tower.
Yeah. Well. So that's what they did. So they started building. So different tribes got a wall. So the most prestigious wall is the wall with the door. Okay. So Banu Abd Manaf, which Quraysh is part of them, they got, or Banu Hashim actually is the part of them. They got the wall with the door, and Rukn Yamani. So that's the other wall, the wall before that. So that's the wall which is next to the wall, and where these two walls meet, that's where the black stone is. So the black stone, now the black stone which is there, it's actually fragmented. It's in different pieces. I think it's in the time of Abbasids. There was an attack on Kaaba, and the Kaaba got destroyed, and the actual stone, the black stone, got destroyed as well. So they put it into the rock and more.
Karamita, they call it.
Yeah.
The Karamita.
Karamitas,
And
yeah.
took it to Iraq.
Yeah. So they actually put it in the molten rock, and to kind of structure it again, reattach it, and that's actually in the rock, molten rock now, the black stone. So it's not in one piece anymore.
Wasn't it white from it came from the heavens and then through people's sins it became
Oh
black?
no,
No?
there's no, these are just all fables, fabricated stories. There's no authentic narration like that. There's lots of these kind of things there.
So where did the black stone come from?
Heavens.
I did come from.
Yeah,
heaven, though.
yeah. Ibrahim hold it when it came down.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
Adam,
remember that bit.
Adam or Ibrahim.
Adam. Yes, you're right. Sorry. Yeah, Adam was the first one who actually built the Kaaba.
Yeah.
So it's awwalu baytin fil Bakka. So that's the first house, and we can't really imagine that there was no house of worship till the time of Ibrahim. So Adam built the first house.
Did the stone come down black or was it white, like the other person said?
It probably came down as black. I'm not sure, but it's always been referred as black stone. So Hajar Aswad. Yeah.
Some kind of a meteor or something, some people have said.
It's a stone from heaven, so that's what we know. So it's been called as Hajar Aswad, so it's a black stone. So what's the more detail? Allahu Alam. We don't know any more detail. Was it a meteorite or not? Probably it's not something from the earth. Definitely it's not an earth's stone. It's not a rock from the earth. It's from outside.
What does it mean, Hajar Aswad? Just black.
Black stone.
Oh, it just means black.
Hajar means stone. Aswad means black. So so they started. So Rukn Yamani was the one which got Banu Makhzum got that one, and Abdul Manaf got the wall with the door, and they are building up and building up. At the time where they had to put the stone now the problem came. Because it's both sides, it's not really to one side, it's not to one wall, both walls have got the stone. So they started fighting.
What was the other clan that were doing? So you said Abdul Manaf?
Banu Makhzum. Yeah. So Banu Makhzum is the Abu Jahl's one. So that's the one. And Walid ibn Mughira and Abu Jahl, so these are Banu Makhzum. So when they come to that stone, the fight began. One wanted to put, and the other one wanted to put. And Abu Jahl, there's a narration where Abu Jahl said that we and Banu Hashim, we were like two horses racing. And just as we were just about to get our noses in front, they brought in a prophet. So how can we compete with that? So that's what one of the reasons why Abu Jahl was so anti Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it was a lot of tribalism. That how can Banu Hashim get a prophet and not Banu Makhzum? So that was another of the things. So they had this rivalry, which was going on for ages and ages. Yes, they were both Banu Quraysh, but they had this rivalry going on. And that kind of stayed even after Islam as well. So Banu Umayyah and Banu Abbas, and so these Banu Abbas are like from the Banu Hashim side, and Banu Umayyah are from the Banu Makhzum side. So they still was quite rivalry that still remained even after Islam. So they made a pact that we will fight till the last man, and we are not going to let the other tribe put the stone in. And it was almost coming to like a civil war when one of the oldest man, who was very wise man, his name is Abu Umayyah ibn al-Mughira, he said, no, there is not going to be any more fighting. What's going to happen is that we will wait for tomorrow. Whoever comes first from that door, from that alleyway, will be the one who will decide who will put the stone in. And basically they thought that whoever will come will decide his own tribe, because it was such a tribalistic society that everything is for your tribe. So basically they thought it's a luck of draw of a luck, because whoever will come, he will choose his tribe to put the stone in. Lo and behold, the next morning, who came through? Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he came through that door. So as soon as he came through, the narration said that everybody was happy. Everybody thought that he will choose me. All the tribes, not just Banu Hashim. So we have to realize that what kind of a person that was, what sort of relationship he had, that everybody thought that we are so beloved to him, he is going to choose us. Not just Banu Hashim, even Banu Makhzum thought that he is going to choose us. He loves us so much. So he had that kind of a relationship with everybody. Fast forward 50 odd years, when he was prophet, one of the new Muslims, Amr ibn al-As, there's a hadith, he said to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was so gentle and nice to me, he thought I am going to ask him, looks like I am the most beloved to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he asked him, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, O Messenger of Allah, who is your most loved one? Who do you love the most? And he was expecting he's going to say you. But his answer was Aisha, radiallahu anha, his wife, our mother. And then he said, oh no, I didn't mean like that, but from the men, who is your most beloved one? He said, Abuha, her father, like Abu Bakr. And then said, and after that, and it's Umar, and after that, Usman, and after that, Ali. And after like 4, 5, 6 times, he said, well, I should better stop now. my name is not going to come, so I should just leave it at that. So that's, even after the Islam, that was the kind of his relation with everybody. So that's how he was interacting with everybody. That everybody thought that I'm the most beloved to Prophet. And even before Islam, this was the case. Basically, then he said, well, nobody is going to put the stone. Bring a cloth, big sheet, and then he asked all the tribes to send a representative. All of them sent a representative. He put the black stone in the middle and asked everybody to raise the stone on that piece of cloth, and then he himself actually put it in its place. So he kind of combined everybody. So that's how the Kaaba was built. There's another interesting bit about that, is that when Abu Jahl was collecting the funds for the Kaaba to go and get the material, he said, look, we are building the house of Allah, so the money should not be tainted. So it should be a pure money. And what did he say, where the money should not come? So it should not come from prostitution, it should not come from interest, it should not come from stealing, so all of those things. So even them, before the Islam, they knew what is not right. So all these things, the interest and the prostitution, all of those. So anyone who is giving the money should not give the money which has been earned by illegal means. So yeah, we've done that. So the changes which made with the Kaaba. So first change which they made was that it was square, as we discussed, and later on, when Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam he conquered. In fact, let's finish that, and then we'll go to that story. So. The other change they made is that Abdul Manaf, who had the side of the door, they made the door high up. in the middle rather than on the ground, which is still the case. So you have to have a ladder to go up into the door. So you can't really reach the door straight from the ground. So the door is actually in the middle of the wall, not on the ground. So you need a ladder. So they, whenever somebody comes, a dignitary, and they had to get them in the Kaaba, they bring a ladder, and then you can go up the ladder. So the other thing they did is they made it really high. So initially the Kaaba was about 10 feet high. So it's narrated that the Kaaba used to be higher that when you are sitting on a camel. So that's high. So if a person is sitting on the camel, so that would be the height of the Kaaba. So about 10 feet or so. But they doubled it, 20 feet or so. But from then it came the tradition of making the Kaaba really high. Now it's actually very high. It's about 50 feet or so. So if you go, the Kaaba is really high. It's about 50, 60 feet high. So, but that's what they did, the third change. And the fourth, which is kind of a logical change, they made a sprout, the water sprout, to protect it from having a water damage from the floods and the rains. So they made a water spout, which is still there. It's not the same sprout, obviously, but the sprout is still there. So these are the changes which they did. So as I was saying, means when Prophet ﷺ conquered Mecca, it's a hadith narrated by Hazrat Aisha radhiyallahu anha that he said, if your people were not new to Islam, I would have demolished the Kaaba and rebuilt it on the foundation of Ibrahim and brought the door down and opened it for everybody. But because people are new, I don't want to do that. Then in the time of Imam Hussein and Yazid and all of those, when the whole Karbala event happened, some of the Sahaba who were in Medina, they kind of rebelled against Yazid, and a Sahabi named as Abdullah ibn Zubayr, who's the son of Zubayr ibn Awam, who's Prophet ﷺ said that he is Allah has given every prophet a Hawari, and my Hawari is Zubayr ibn Awam. And Zubayr was, if I'm not wrong, please correct me, he was married to Asma ibn Abi Bakr. So he was the auntie of Abdullah. So Abdullah ibn Zubayr rallied few people, an army, little army, and he conquered Mecca, and he kind of made a mini caliphate in Mecca. So because he knew what Prophet said at the time of Fateh Mecca, he destroyed the Kaaba and rebuilt it on the...
Aisha told him. His auntie Aisha
Yeah,
told him.
Aisha told her. So he rebuilt it on the foundation of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So he made it again rectangular and brought the door down. And Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, who was the governor, he was a nutcase. He came. Yeah, I mean he was, because he came and he threw minjaniques, the boulders with the minjaniques inside, and he destroyed the Kaaba. Yeah, he regained the power, and he literally crucified Abdullah ibn Zubayr, who's a Sahabi, who's a son of a Sahabi, whose mother is a Sahabiya, and I mean, he's very close. He's almost a relative to Prophet ﷺ because he's the nephew of Hazrat Aisha radhiyallahu anha, and he's grandson of Abu Bakr. So I mean, we can't really tell you how big name he is, and he crucified him outside the Kaaba.
So, in essence, in the time after the Prophet and even before, there's always been a struggle around the Kaaba, and obviously there was the importance of it being a marketplace and
Yeah.
between the two camel trains.
Yeah.
So it's constantly been a struggle there in terms of who, and even today we talk about not the king but the holder of the two
Yeah.
shrines
Shrine,
in
yeah.
effect. So it's constantly been an issue of power.
Yeah, and prestige, power and prestige. So whoever is ruling that, all the Muslims would look up to them and they will try and support them. And even today, as you said, it's still the case.
The guardian of
The guardian of the
the
two holy
mosques.
places, yeah.
When it's like a joke, it's true. This event, King Abdullah had a servant from Sudan, and he wasn't able to say the khadim. They were saying it. So somebody came and visited the king, and he was telling him, "What do you want, Abdullah? What do you want, Abdullah?" And this guy said to King Abdullah, "Why he calls you with your first name?" He said, "I ordered them to do this." He said, "Why?" He said, "He used to say, Hadim al Haramain." Hadim will mean demolishing.
Off the
They say, Hadim al Haramain. He said, "No, just call him the first name,
What name?
Abdullah."
No. Yeah. So, so it was always a symbol of prestige and power. So, so what were we saying? So yeah, so Abdullah bin Zubayr built it, and then so after that in Banu Umayyah's time, Imam Malik's time. So in the Imam Malik time, whoever the